Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. So in this series we are going to be covering Draconianism and what it is and all that jazz. So it'll be fun. So first things first, we are just going to explain and talk about what Draconianism is. So traditional Draconianism actually dates back to the very first ancient civilizations. It goes all the way back, right? To ancient China, ancient Japan, ancient Arabian cultures, even ancient Africa. Literally every ancient culture known to man had dragons, and still today, every mythology, every culture, every continent around the world has dragons. So Draconianism is the shamanistic path of the dragon. It is a left-hand path, so it's not anywhere, near Wicca or anything like that. It is very, very much different. It's a lot more devotional. It's a lot more time-consuming, and it's a lot more hands-on. There's a lot more that goes into Draconianism than just working with dragons. It focuses a lot on symbolizations. So rather taking mythology or stories at face value, we look at the symbolization and the message of the story or of the lore. Find the meaning behind it, what it's trying to tell us. So Draconianism is not a culture-specific path, and you can also combine it with other paths as well. For instance, there are Draconian Druids. You can also mix Draconianism with Cliffoff or the Goetia. You can mix Draconian with Greek mythology or Norse paganism, because there are literally dragons within every culture, every continent, and every pantheon. Every country around the globe has their own descriptions, their own versions, and their own types of dragons. Sometimes they are giant sea fish. Sometimes they're serpentine. Sometimes they're part bird. Sometimes they're part crocodile. It just depends on the area, the culture, and the myth. Now, Draconians often get confused with starseeds or lizard people. I promise we're not gonna eat your babies. We're not lizard people. We don't secretly have, slitted snake eyes, although that'd be pretty fucking cool. Draconian starseeds are not the same as Draconian practitioners or shamans. In fact, they're kind of like the Draconian starseed ideology is like Draconians want to destroy the planet and eat your babies. We don't want to destroy the planet. In fact, we work very heavily within the elements, and not just the 4 basic elements, but all the raw elements of dragons and the earth. Now, another thing that Draconianism is often, linked to or confused with, would be Draconian Law. It is usually the first thing that pops up when you type it into Google. It's great. So if you don't know, the Draconian Law was put in place by a man named Draco in the 7th century. And he was actually an Athenian legislator who created that harsh code of law. And the law itself didn't actually last for very long before they kicked it. Now, this law that Draco had instilled was classified as very harsh or severe punishment. So essentially, the punishment or the law was you could get severely and harshly punished by law for the stupidest fucking thing. So say you stole a candy bar or a loaf of bread, they would decapitate you. So there's that. So I'm also very well aware that research into Draconianism is very difficult, And that's for good reason, but at the same time, I understand it's frustrating. Most of what we learn can't be found in a book, but there are ways to learn and find like specific rituals and techniques, traditions, so on and so forth. And a lot of the times, rituals and invocations and even spells can be crafted by you yourself with your dragon guides or with your spirit team. And sometimes that actually makes them more effective and more powerful. But with that said, you want to make sure that you are testing trial and error, because I'm not guaranteeing that just because you make it yourself, it's going to work. I'm also not guaranteeing that if you do any invocation or ritual or spell, that a dragon is necessarily going to show up for you. Now, if you already work with a dragon, that's one thing. But nobody can force a dragon to do anything, and nobody can make a dragon work with them. Dragons have to choose you, whether you're walking a standard draconic path or you're walking the path of draconianism. Irregardless, a dragon has to choose you. Draconianism is a very chaotic path, because again, it works with all of the elements, all of the raw elements, and one of the biggest raw elements is chaos itself. But it is also massively rewarding. Not everybody has the stomach for the path, and also not everybody has the abilities or can meet the requirements to successfully walk the path. And that's totally valid, that's totally okay. You can work with dragons without ever touching draconianism. Now, I must, add a note in there that draconianism isn't all dark. Draconianism is a spiritually and physiologically, it is a belief system that centers around the invocations and the energies of dragons, serpents, and dragon-like entities. You are walking the path of the dragon to reach your highest enlightenment. Some of the things it focuses on most are personal transformation, self-empowerment, deep connections with ancient and mystical energies and entities, confronting your fears and a fuck ton of shadow work, embracing your inner strengths and your bodily autonomy. It's about growing to understand yourself and your higher self, your soul, your connections, and also your connection with the universe, and even the realms. Dragons themselves represent destruction and creation, life and death. They are the ultimate cycle. They are the cosmos. So the empowerment that you gain from them is massive. The amount of knowledge and wisdom that they can give you and guide you through. There are lots of trials, lots of shadow work. There's a mass amount of trust, respect, honor, so on and so forth that is required. And when I say trust and respect, I'm not just meaning from you to them. Like, they also require that shit from you to yourself. Because the way they look at it is, if you can't trust yourself, why should they trust you? Now, mind you, they do understand we are human. Nobody's perfect. We're not always going to trust ourselves. We're not always going to be honest with ourselves. But the main focus is to try and grow. Mistakes are okay as long as you learn from them. If you guys have any more questions about Draconianism, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thank you.